Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a chronically misunderstood topic in the web ecosystem, and that is WordPress membership site hosting. It turns out, your standard blog hosting, it might not actually be good enough for a membership site. If your members are dealing with super slow load times, login failures during traffic spikes, or your mission-critical emails are landing straight in the spam folder, well, the culprit is usually your infrastructure, not your plugins. So let's unpack exactly what we need to fix this for 2026.
Okay, let's dive right into this. You know the feeling, right? Have you ever poured your absolute heart into a massive launch only to watch your site completely crash the very second you open the doors? You're sitting there staring at those dreaded 503 service unavailable errors, or maybe your current members are complaining about sluggish logins that take, 10 seconds just to load a simple dashboard. It's incredibly frustrating. But why do membership sites buckle under that pressure when standard blogs can handle the exact same amount of traffic without breaking a sweat?
To answer that, here is our roadmap for today. First, why standard hosting fails. Second, the two-audience problem. Third, our 4 requirements for 2026. Fourth, exactly when you need to upgrade. And finally, some crucial plugin considerations.
All right, Section 1, Why Standard Hosting Fails. Let's uncover the fundamental mismatch between typical shared hosting architectures and what a membership site actually does.
You see, standard shared hosting is fundamentally engineered to serve cached, static HTML to anonymous visitors. Think of it like standing on a street corner handing out a pre-printed flyer. It's incredibly fast, and it requires almost zero mental effort, which is fantastic because servers love being lazy. A well-configured shared host can hand out tens of thousands of these flyers every month and keep its CPU usage incredibly low. It's the perfect model for a standard blog or a portfolio site. But for a membership site, it's a complete disaster.
Moving to Section 2, the two-audience problem. This is the hidden technical bottleneck that catches most site owners completely off guard. So, what is the two-audience problem? Well, it's essentially serving fast, static pages to the public while simultaneously struggling to process uncached, live PHP requests for your logged-in members. You see, a membership site serves 2 radically different types of traffic at the exact same time. Your public-facing pages load lightning fast because they're served from that static cache. Your marketing benchmarks look fantastic. But the very moment someone logs in, they bypass that cache entirely. WordPress literally cannot serve a personalized dashboard or gated content from a static file. So every logged-in action requires the server to assemble the page from scratch.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact divide. On the left, your anonymous visitors get a cache hit. 0 PHP workers are consumed, and the page loads in under 100 milliseconds. Beautiful. But on the right, your logged-in members bypass the cache entirely. To stick with our earlier analogy, instead of just handing out a pre-printed flyer, you now have to have a unique, highly custom conversation with every single person. That requires a dedicated employee, or what servers call a PHP worker, plus live database queries for every single click they make.
To put that into perspective, look at this stark data contrast. If you have a blog with 10,000 visits a month, you really only need about 2 to 4 PHP workers because everything's comfortably cached. But a membership site with that exact same traffic, it needs 8 to 16 workers, double the RAM, and handles triple the database queries. Now, on standard shared hosting, you are usually capped at just 2 to 4 PHP workers total. So if just 10 members click a link at the exact same time, you instantly exhaust your workers. The 11th person gets put in a queue, and if that queue fills up, boom, you get those nasty 503 errors. Let's jump to Section 3, 4 requirements for 2026. Now that we've diagnosed the real pain points, let's look at the absolute non-negotiable hosting standards for the modern web.
Listen, if logged-in users are your actual product, these 4 items aren't premium upsells, they are your minimum functional specifications. Number 1, a dedicated IP address. Number 2, PHP 8.3 or higher. Number 3, Redis object caching. And number 4, server isolation. Let's quickly break down why each of these is absolutely crucial for you.
Number 1, a dedicated IP. This essentially protects your sender reputation so that mission-critical welcome emails and password resets don't end up in a spam folder. Think about how heavily your membership site relies on transactional email. If you share an IP address on a crowded hosting plan, you're literally risking being blacklisted just because of the bad behavior of your server neighbors. A dedicated IP ensures your communications actually land where they're supposed to, in the inbox.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive 21% performance jump we see with modern PHP versions. Keep in mind, PHP 8.1 officially reached its end of life at the end of 2025, which means 0 new security patches. But looking forward to PHP 8.4, benchmarks are showing a 21% throughput gain over older versions like 7.4 for WooCommerce requests. When you're dealing with high concurrent loads, getting a 21% increase in processing speed for free, that is absolutely massive for your site's stability.
Our third requirement is Redis object caching. On a membership site, the exact same access rule checks and user role lookups fire over and over on every single page load. Without Redis, every single one of those checks hits your database directly, which is a guaranteed recipe for a crash during a launch. Redis stores those query results in RAM. It serves repeated queries instantly from memory, which ends up reducing your overall database load by a staggering 60 to 80%.
And the fourth requirement is server isolation. Technologies like Cloud Linux CageFS basically create a virtualized container, meaning neighboring accounts cannot compromise your performance or your security. So if a neighboring account on your shared server gets hacked or decides to hog a bunch of resources, it literally cannot affect your site. Hosts like AHosting deploy this as an industry standard across their shared infrastructure, because, let's be real, securing your subscribers' data simply isn't optional.
All right, Section 4, when to upgrade hosting. You've got the baseline requirements in place, but how do we scale gracefully without overpaying before we actually need to?
So the crucial point here is that your total member count, it's basically a marketing vanity metric. Your server literally does not care if you have 500 members or 50,000 members just sitting dormant in a database somewhere. What your server actually cares about is concurrent active members. How many people are logging in and requesting uncached PHP files at the exact same second? That is the true specification you need to be designing for.
As this highlights, the signal to watch is not your plan's stated limits. It is your PHP worker exhaustion events, measured as 503 errors in your server logs. You really can't just guess when to upgrade based on some arbitrary plan limits. You've got to monitor your logs. The undeniable, absolute signal that you have outgrown your hosting is PHP worker exhaustion, usually combined with spiking database query times during peak traffic. When those two things start appearing, your site is literally gasping for air.
So here is the logical progression you want to follow. Step 1, start on a shared plan with Redis and a dedicated IP. Step 2, closely monitor your concurrent peaks and your PHP worker usage. And Step 3, upgrade to a VPS the moment exhaustion occurs. You see, you don't necessarily need a super expensive virtual private server on day 1, but once you start hitting that worker exhaustion, that is the exact moment you upgrade. A VPS gives you total, fine-grained control over how many PHP workers you have, and it lets you allocate dedicated memory specifically for Redis.
Finally, Section 5, plugin hosting considerations. We have to match our server infrastructure to our specific software stack, because, as you probably know, not all plugins are created equal.
Let's move to this chart and see how this builds. Looking at database load by plugin type, a standalone plugin like MemberPress has a relatively low, light footprint. It's mainly just checking access rules. But the moment you introduce a massive e-commerce engine like WooCommerce memberships, or a full learning management system like LearnDash or Lifter LMS, well, your database load absolutely skyrockets.
Take WooCommerce, for example. WooCommerce memberships triggers cart fragment requests in addition to all those membership checks on every single page load. Now, even with the newer high-performance order storage updates in the Woo ecosystem, this software stack still carries significant overhead. If you are running this, you absolutely must budget for a bare minimum of 2 GB of RAM and, again, that dedicated IP we talked about earlier.
And learning management systems, they are even heavier. Plugins like LearnDash or Lifter LMS don't just read data, they generate incredibly heavy database writes for every single quiz submission and lesson completion. Every single time a student hits submit on a quiz or updates their progress, it writes directly to the database. This constant read and write cycle means that high-volume LMS sites almost always necessitate a VPS with dedicated database resources from the very beginning.
Which leaves us with this final provocative question. Is your current infrastructure actually built for your active concurrent members? It's time to stop blaming your plugins for slow load times and start auditing your hosting against these 2026 standards. To help you out, I've organized a time-stamped chapter list for this entire explainer so you can easily jump back to any section and double-check your own setup. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.